So, picture this. You are standing dead in the middle of the fairway. You've got, say, 7-iron in your hand.
Oh, I know this feeling. The pin is right there, dead ahead.
Exactly. And you take a breath, you look down at the ball, and you repeat that, like, sacred golf mantra to yourself.
Yeah.
Keep your head down, take a divot.
Right, the classic advice.
Yeah, so you take the club back, and you just throw your entire upper body at the ground. You try to physically force that club head into the turf, and
Yeah, the dreaded heavy chunk.
you chunk it 20 yards, and you're literally just left holding a giant clump of dirt, wondering why you even play this game.
Well, the irony here, and this is what we're really digging into today, is that this whole hitting down instinct is just a complete biomechanical disaster.
Which is wild because it's what we've all been taught forever.
Yeah.
But in today's deep dive, we're looking at some pretty eye-opening kinematic data that essentially proves this age-old advice isn't just slightly wrong, it's actually destroying your swing.
Yeah, it really is. Because, I mean, golfers are totally ruining their ball striking by focusing on forcing this artificial static position rather than, trusting a natural movement pattern.
They're trying to manufacture the impact, right, like manually.
Exactly, instead of just letting it happen. The research we're looking at today analyzes the kinematics of elite ball strikers.
Yeah.
And what it shows is that the players who create that beautiful, crisp, descending strike, they're actually extending their bodies upward from the ground as they approach impact.
Okay, wait, hold on. Moving up to hit down. Because, I mean, if my chest goes toward the sky and my body's moving away from the turf, how does the club head ever reach the dirt?
I know it sounds totally backward.
It sounds like the literal definition of topping the ball.
It does. But think about the physics of a whip.
Right.
Or even, just snapping a heavy wet towel. If you want to snap that towel downward with maximum force, you don't just take your arm and shove it toward the floor.
Right, you just get this, like, dull thud on the tile.
Exactly. To create that violent snap, you actually pull your hand upward sharply, just before the end of the towel extends. And that upward pull creates this massive acceleration in the opposite direction. So the end of the towel whips downward.
Oh, wow. Okay, I see where this is going.
Yeah, in biomechanics, this is closely related to a concept called parametric acceleration. You have a club that's traveling on an arc. As your hands approach the hitting area, your body moves upward and rotates. And that essentially pulls up on the handle of the club.
So because the club head is trailing behind the hands, pulling up on the grip acts almost like a fulcrum.
You nailed it. Yes.
So it whips that heavy club head down and out toward the ball, meaning the downward strike isn't something you're muscling with your shoulders, it's just the physical consequence of the handle being pulled up.
Right, and by doing that, you're creating space for your arms to swing freely. Because think about it, if your body stays down or actively drives downward into the turf like amateurs are so often taught to do,
You just run out of room.
totally, your hands have nowhere to go. So the club bottoms out early, leading to that heavy chunk we were talking about. Or your brain subconsciously realizes you're about to hit the dirt, so you aggressively bend your elbows.
Oh, the classic chicken wing.
Yes, you chicken wing it to avoid the ground, and that leads to this awful thin shot that just, rattles your teeth.
I feel attacked right now.
Right,
But
right.
honestly, this completely explains the chopping wood problem. I see so many amateurs, myself included sometimes, swing a golf club like they are literally trying to split a log with an axe.
Right. But even with an axe, you don't take it to the top, freeze, and then physically shove the axe head deep into the dirt with your chest.
Right, you swing through the log. You let the momentum do the heavy lifting.
Exactly. But in golf, we see the pro take this massive, perfect dollar bill-sized divot, and we totally misinterpret the result as the cause. We think they are actively driving the club into the earth.
It's totally a confusion of cause and effect. We see a descending angle of attack and just conclude, well, I guess I need to hit down aggressively.
But the descending blow is a symptom of a great swing, not the conscious goal of it. When amateurs attempt to consciously hit down, they drive their torso into the turf, and that traps your posture.
Traps it how? Like locking up.
Yeah, you effectively lock your body into the ground, and when your body is locked like that, your pelvic and thoracic rotation just completely stall out.
You just freeze. Like your lower body stops dead, and then your hands have to take over to save the shot.
Exactly. And you simply cannot generate speed when your posture has collapsed and your rotation is stalled.
Yeah.
I mean, the golf swing relies entirely on ground reaction forces.
Right, pushing off the earth.
Yeah. Elite players use the ground by pushing into it, and the ground pushes back. That sends energy up through the legs, into the pelvis, the torso, the arms, and finally out to the club head.
But if you are just sinking into the ground to try and stay down through the shot.
Then you are abandoning the single greatest source of power you have, your legs and your glutes.
Okay, so let's try to transition this from a physics lesson into something the listener can actually feel. Because it is incredibly hard to sense an upward pull when you're swinging a driver at like 110 miles an hour.
Oh, definitely. The driver's way too fast to learn this on.
So is there a way to isolate this movement like in slow motion so our brains can actually process what's happening?
Yes, absolutely. The short game is the perfect laboratory for this because, chipping and pitching involve smaller, slower movements. They are much easier to isolate and observe.
Okay, that makes sense.
The source material we have actually outlines a very specific movement pattern that skilled players use around the greens. And it goes like this. Down on the backswing, up in the follow-through.
Okay, down in the backswing makes total sense to me because you are turning your shoulders on an incline around your spine, right?
Oh.
So the lead shoulder naturally works slightly downward as you rotate back.
Right, exactly.
But it's that second half of the phrase, up in the follow-through, that's where people are going to get really nervous. During the follow-through, you're saying the lead shoulder is supposed to move upward while the body gradually stands taller.
Yes, and rotates toward the target. And here's why it works. Because your center of mass and your pressure are correctly positioned, which usually means favoring the lead leg in a standard chip shot, the club is still going to strike down on the golf ball, even as your body begins to rise.
Wait, so the body rising doesn't pull the club up into the air?
No, because your arms and the club are still extending downward on the arc. The lead shoulder pulling up and around is actually what guides the club head smoothly through the turf. It stops the leading edge from just digging a trench.
But if I just think stand taller during a chip shot, my immediate fear is that I'm going to early extend and just thin the ball right across the green into the front bunker.
And that is a very valid fear. But there is a massive structural difference between proper upward extension and the dreaded early extension, where you just stand up and top it.
Okay, break that down for me. What is the difference?
The distinction is rotation. Early extension happens when your pelvis thrusts forward toward the golf ball and your spine angle straightens up prematurely, but entirely without rotation.
So your hips just sort of thrust at the ball.
Exactly. Your chest ends up pointing directly at the sky, your hips stall out completely, and your hands have to aggressively flip at the ball just to save the shot. It's essentially a panic move.
Right, you see the ground coming up fast, you panic, and you stand straight up to avoid chunking it.
Exactly. Proper extension, however, happens while you are rotating. Your lead leg pushes into the ground to extend, the lead side of your pelvis clears and rotates back behind you, and your chest opens up to face the target.
So you aren't just standing straight up in your original footprint.
No, not at all. Your body is unwinding and extending through the shot. That rotation is what keeps the hands leading the club head, and it keeps the club on its proper path. You hit down on the ball because the low point of the swing arc is naturally placed in front of the golf ball.
Okay, so the rotation is the engine that makes the upward extension work safely. That makes a lot of sense. But once we lock in that feeling on a tiny 20-yard pitch shot, how does this scale up to, say, a full 5-iron or a hybrid?
Well, the underlying kinematics remain exactly the same. They just get scaled up. In a full swing, as you transition down from the top, your hands actually reach their lowest physical point in space before the club head makes contact with the ball.
Wait, I really want to highlight that. Let me make sure I'm hearing you right. The hands hit their lowest altitude before impact.
Yes.
So at the exact moment the club face hits the ball, the hands are already traveling upward.
Yes, they are. And that is the absolute crux of the illusion.
Yeah.
From that lowest point, the body extends upward and rotates around the lead side. The pelvis moves forward toward the target, the chest opens, and the trail leg gradually straightens as the lead side rises.
Wow.
Because the hands are moving up and in, but the club head is still trailing behind on its arc, the club head continues to travel downward through the ball. This is exactly how elite players maintain a low point that occurs after the golf ball.
So they compress the ball against the turf while their body is effectively moving away from the turf.
Exactly.
Our sources actually use a great visualization for this. They talk about catapulting the club through the ball, which I love that imagery.
It's a perfect analogy.
Yeah.
Because a lot of amateurs try to push the club through impact with their right hand or their trail hand.
Right, like they're trying to shove it.
Yeah, but if you think about snapping that wet towel or cracking a whip or even a literal catapult, the energy doesn't come from a pushing motion. The energy comes from an opposing directional pull. The body goes up and away, so the payload of the club head snaps down and out.
And when you fail to use that upward bodily release, I guess you're forced to rely entirely on the small muscles, right? Your forearms, your wrists, your hands.
Exactly. You are constantly trying to muscle the golf ball. We always hear commentators on TV talk about the effortless power of touring
Oh
pros.
yeah, he swings so easy.
Right. But it only looks effortless because they aren't fighting the natural forces of the swing. They aren't trying to shove a metal stick through the dirt using arm strength. They are allowing their larger muscle groups to push against the ground, rotate freely, and let the physics of the lever system do all the work. The speed just happens at the bottom of the arc naturally.
This whole concept really indicts the way golf has traditionally been taught, doesn't it? I mean, we've talked about the mechanical failure of hitting down, but let's look at the psychological side of
The
this.
mental game of it is huge.
Yeah, because the article makes this brilliant argument against what it calls position-based coaching in favor of movement-based coaching. And position-based coaching is essentially the classic magazine article approach, right?
Oh, absolutely. Look at this picture of Tiger Woods at impact. Notice the shaft lean. Notice the open hips. Now go to the driving range and try to force your body to look exactly like this freeze frame.
Right. But motor learning research shows us exactly why that fails. The human brain just doesn't process athletic movement as a series of isolated static poses.
It really doesn't.
Yeah.
When you treat the swing like a connect the dots puzzle, you become stiff, robotic, and incredibly anxious. You lose all your fluidity.
Because you're overthinking every micro movement.
Exactly. The positions we admire in elite players, the forward shaft lean, the open hips, the extended arms, those are not things they're consciously trying to hit. Those positions are just the exhaust of a good engine. They are not the fuel.
I love that phrase, the exhaust, not the fuel. They're just the byproduct of doing the movements correctly. I mean, if you're swinging a baseball bat, you don't think about the exact angle of your left wrist as the bat crosses home plate.
No, you'd strike out every time.
You just look at the ball and swing dynamically. But in golf, I think because the ball is just sitting there on the ground, literally mocking us, we freeze up, we try to manufacture the impact position.
We do. And movement-based coaching fights that by treating the golfer as an athlete. It emphasizes flow, rhythm, and dynamic balance. Instead of asking a student to freeze their wrist to create shaft lean, movement-based coaching asks them to feel a specific sequence of motion that naturally produces that shaft lean as a side effect.
So by focusing on the rhythm of the swing, we basically bypass the conscious, over-analytical part of the brain that causes all that tension.
That's exactly the goal.
But the anxiety of hitting a golf ball is so real. I mean, it takes a massive leap of faith to stop trying to control the strike and just trust the movement. So how do we actually train this?
Well, the article gives some really actionable ways to unlearn these bad habits, because the ultimate goal isn't to consciously try and hit down anymore, but to create the correct rhythm.
Right. So what should the listener focus on during their next range session?
The easiest entry point is focusing on the motion of the shoulders. It takes a highly complex biomechanical event and simplifies it into a single manageable thought. You just want to feel the lead shoulder moving slightly downward during the backswing.
Which ensures you're maintaining your posture as you turn away from the ball, right?
Exactly. Then, from there, you feel the lead shoulder moving upward and around during the follow-through. Down in the backswing, up through impact.
It's just a rhythm. Down, then up and around.
Yes. When you focus on that rhythm, you stop trying to manufacture the low point with your hands. And you should start small. Hit 20-yard pitch shots using a wedge. Don't even worry about the target or the ball flight at first. Just feel the turf interaction.
Just feel how the club goes through the grass.
Right. Notice how much softer and cleaner the club glides through the grass when you let your body extend upward and rotate, compared to when you were just chopping down at it.
And I imagine once your brain gets that physical feedback that moving upward actually results in a more compressed, solid strike, that fear of topping the ball starts to fade pretty quickly.
It does. The body realizes, oh, wait, this is actually how I hit it pure. And from there, you scale it up. You take that exact same feeling to an 8-iron, then a 5-iron, and eventually you're applying that same upward extension to a driver.
Which is huge because with the driver, the ball is teed up and positioned forward in your stance. So the low point of the arc occurs slightly before the ball anyway, right?
Exactly. The club is actively traveling upward at impact with the driver. So if a golfer still has that deeply ingrained habit of hitting down and driving their chest toward the ground.
The driver swing just becomes a nightmare. Pop-ups, violent slices, sky marks on the crown of the club.
It's awful. Learning this upward rotational extension is absolutely critical for hitting up on the driver to maximize your distance and your launch angle.
It sounds like the entire mindset of the amateur golfer just has to shift. I mean, we've been fed a diet of cliches that sound logical, but are actually physically counterproductive. Keep your head down, stay in your posture, hit down to make the ball go up.
All they do is encourage a static, downward-focused, muscle-driven swing. They promote tension. And tension is the absolute enemy of the golf swing.
It totally kills any athletic motion.
Yeah, because when you try to keep your head perfectly still and down, you restrict the movement of your cervical spine, which then restricts your thoracic spine, which kills your shoulder turn. The golf swing is a kinetic chain. A break anywhere in the chain ruins the transfer of energy.
But freeing up the head to naturally swivel and allowing the body to extend upward, that restores the flow of the chain.
Exactly. It lets you actually use your athleticism.
It really all comes back to treating the golf swing as an athletic motion rather than like a math problem you have to solve over the ball. The club hits down because your body moves up and out of the way, so stop chopping wood.
Please stop chopping wood.
The next time you are out on the range or even on the course, pay strict attention to that ledge shoulder and your lower body. Ask yourself honestly, are you collapsing? Are you locking your knees and dropping your chest into the dirt in this desperate attempt to make contact?
And if you find yourself chunking the ball or taking these massive, deep divots that rattle your wrists, you need to change the rhythm. Focus on down, then up and around.
Allow your body to move athletically. Use the ground. Pulling up creates the snap. The sooner a golfer embraces that counterintuitive reality, the sooner they will find that elusive, effortless power we're all chasing.
It really will completely change the way you practice and play.
Well, we're going to wrap up our analysis here, but I want to leave you with a final lingering thought. Think back to that poor chunked 7-iron we started with at the top of the show. The pure misery of doing exactly what the classic advice told you to do, only to fail.
It's a terrible feeling.
It is. But if our obsession with keeping our head down in golf has been completely backward this whole time, what other classic sports advice out there might be fundamentally clashing with natural human biomechanics? Just something to think about. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. See you next time.